4:30 in the morning on Valentine's Day. While other wives were dreaming of long-stemmed roses, Nixayara Thorne was jolted awake by a cruel gift, an intimate, searing video of her own husband with his young mistress, accompanied by a defiant text. "You're outdated, Grandma. Get some rest." But Nixayara didn't cry, nor did she bother making a scene in the hallway. She chose a stage 1,000 times more devastating for her response. The morning news broadcast, streamed live for the entire executive board and every employee in the company. With one cold click, she transformed Valentine's Day into the day of ruin for her unfaithful husband and the brazen woman who came between them, stripping both of their careers and their honor in a single heartbeat. We invite you into this earthquake on the Real Life Love Stories channel right after this introduction, 4:30 in the morning. The dry ping of a text message tore through the silence of Atlanta. Under the early morning dew, it wasn't sweet wishes, roses, or gourmet chocolates. On the smartphone screen, glowing in the darkness, was a message from an unknown number, accompanied by a video exactly 1 minute and 30 seconds long. Nixayara trembled as she clicked. What she saw wasn't a romantic scene, but the familiar bare back of the man she had shared a bed with for 5 years. Panting sounds and the muffled laughter of a strange woman echoed cold as knives in her heart. "Is Mrs. Thorne awake yet, baby? Or is the old lady still dreaming of a happy life?" The Atlanta sky in mid-February still hung heavy with the sharp, biting chill of the Georgia winter. A dense fog wrapped around the skyscrapers of Midtown, creeping into the side streets and blowing a freezing mist against the closed windows. Today was February 14th, Valentine's Day. Nixayara woke up before the alarm went off. It was a professional habit rooted in her blood as an editor and head of news production at Vertex Media Group. She moved slightly, reaching out to the side, searching for warmth by reflex. But her slender hand found only a cold void and an eerily smooth sheet. Theron Thorne, her husband, hadn't come home the night before. The reason he gave was perfectly plausible at the time. "I've got to take some clients down to Savannah with the CEO. The new eco-resort project is in the final stretch. You understand, right?" Nixayara sighed. Her breath turned into a fine mist that dissolved in the air. She sat up, adjusting her silk bonnet and tucking a stray lock behind her ear, trying to contain the sense of unease that had been simmering in her heart for months. She had calmed herself with the arguments of a supportive wife. "It's good that he's focused on his career. I shouldn't be suspicious. Theron is doing everything for our future and the child we're planning to have this year." She reached for her phone to turn off the alarm scheduled for 5 minutes later. As soon as the screen lit up, what caught her eye wasn't the radiant wedding photo from 5 years ago, but a WhatsApp notification. The sender was listed as Lil Sis, with an avatar of a mysterious black rose. Nixayara frowned. Who sends messages at this hour? It must be a mistake or spam, but a woman's intuition, that painfully sharp sixth sense, told her otherwise. She swiped to unlock. A short text appeared. "Happy Valentine's Day, sis. Your husband asked me to send you the gift early because he's so tired." Right below it was a video clip. The thumbnail showed a hotel room with soft, amber lights, and on the bed, a man sleeping soundly with his arm draped across his forehead. The gold Rolex with the metal strap on his wrist, a third anniversary gift Nixayara had saved for 6 months to buy him, shimmered provocatively. Nixayara's heart did a somersault, plummeting into an abyss. She felt the blood freeze in her veins, her chest tightening until she couldn't breathe. With hands shaking so hard she nearly dropped the phone, she pressed play. The video began with the muffled giggle of the person filming. The camera shook slightly as it approached the bed. Theron's face appeared clearly. He was sleeping, his chest rising and falling rhythmically, covered only by a thin sheet. The woman's voice was soft but dripping with venom. "Wake up, baby, and wish your wife a happy Valentine's Day. Come on. Oh, I forgot. At this hour, that old lady must be busy pressing your suits, right? Such a shame. She takes such good care of you, and here you are, sneaking away with me." The camera panned down to the floor, where Theron's clothes and some red lace lingerie were scattered messily. Then the lens turned toward the mirror. A young woman with an expressive face and almond-shaped eyes stood there, wearing only Theron's white dress shirt, holding a glass of Cabernet and smiling with insolent defiance. "Mrs. Thorne, your husband is wonderful, but he says life with you is so bland. You're outdated, Grandma. Get some rest. Let me take care of him." The video ended with the girl blowing a kiss to the camera. The phone hit the pillow with a dull thud. Nixira sat paralyzed. No screams, no tears. The pain was so immense that all her senses went numb. It felt like she was watching a horror movie about someone else, not her own life. Theron had betrayed her. Not only that, he had allowed his mistress to film her humiliation on Valentine's Day. 5 years of her youth, 5 years where she sacrificed everything, giving up a graduate fellowship in New York City to stay in Atlanta and build a family with him. 5 years where she stayed in the shadows, using all her connections and editing skills to help him rise from a humble salesman to the vice president of external relations. Everything had become a joke. Bland. "Wow," Nixira whispered, her voice raspy and foreign. She looked at herself in the mirror. In the reflection was a 29-year-old woman who, even without makeup, had delicate, deep features. Only her eyes revealed the exhaustion of late nights spent prepping scripts. She never thought she was old until she heard that word come out of that girl's mouth. A wave of nausea hit her. Nixira ran to the bathroom, retching convulsively on an empty stomach. She splashed cold water on her face, slapping her cheeks repeatedly until the skin felt numb and red. "Wake up, Nixira. You can't fall apart now." She looked directly at her dripping reflection, clenching her teeth. The clock hit 5 in the morning. 2 hours remained until the broadcast of the company's internal morning news. The program, ironically, was featuring a special segment today, Valentine's Day Shoutouts. A bold, crazy idea sparked in Nixira's mind. It glowed like a flame in the ashes of the trust that had just been incinerated. If they wanted to play such a painful joke on her, she would show them what a real party looked like. She went back to the bed and grabbed her phone. Her hands were still shaking, but this time it wasn't from fear. It was from the rage boiling inside, waiting for the moment to explode. She downloaded the video and saved it in a hidden folder labeled Project X. Then she took a deep breath and typed a reply to the unknown number. "Thanks for the gift. Received. Don't forget to watch the company news this morning. I've got a thank you gift of my own coming." After sending it, Nixira blocked the number, took a shower, and chose her most powerful wine-red power suit from the closet. She applied a dark red lipstick, the color of blood and pride. She left the house, driving her Lexus through the dense Atlanta fog. Outside, the breakfast spots were just opening, the smell of biscuits and coffee starting to drift through the air. Life was moving on, and Nixira knew her battle was just beginning. At the Vertex Media Group headquarters, the 10-story building stood imposing in the heart of the city. The Valentine's Day atmosphere was everywhere. Heart-shaped balloons and red roses decorated the lobby. Young employees, dressed to the nines, whispered about their plans for the evening. Nixira walked in. The click of her heels on the marble floor was steady and firm. The security guard greeted her, a bit taken aback by her cold aura, which was a sharp departure from her usual kindness. "Good morning, Mrs. Thorne. You look stunning today. Mr. Thorne must have something huge planned for you, huh?" A young intern came skipping up to say hello. Nixira stopped. The corners of her lips curled into a forced, slight smile. "Yes, a huge gift, honey. So big, I don't even know how to thank him." She went straight to the editing suite, a wide space with dozens of computer screens glowing. This was her kingdom, where she controlled every piece of information broadcast. Today, Nixira was responsible for the final verification of the morning news, which was streamed live on the massive LED panels in the lobby and on the internal employee portal. It was a corporate culture initiative the CEO valued deeply. As soon as she sat down, Her phone rang. It was Theron. Nixayara looked at the name on the screen. A feeling of disgust rose in her throat. She answered, her voice eerily calm. "Hey, baby." "Hey, beautiful. You awake yet? I'm so sorry. I had a few too many with the clients last night. Ended up crashing at the hotel in Savannah. I'm grabbing an Uber now. I should be at the office around 8:30. Happy Valentine's Day, my love." Theron's voice was smooth and convincing, just as it always was. If it wasn't for the video, Nixayara would have still believed him blindly. "It's fine, honey. Work is important," Nixayara replied, her right hand twirling a pen, her eyes fixed on the computer screen showing the schedule. "Come on in. We've got a lot of surprises at the office today. You'll regret it if you're late." "Surprises? What have you got for me, baby?" "All right, I'll try to get there sooner. Love you." He hung up. Nixayara laughed quietly. "Love you." Those two words sounded so vile now. She opened the script file. The final part of the program was the Love Notes section. The plan was a slideshow of couple photos from the company with well wishes. Nixayara plugged the flash drive containing the incriminating video into the computer. She acted quickly and skillfully, inserting the video at the very end of the presentation, right after the CEO's greetings. But Nixayara wasn't stupid. She knew that if she just broadcast the video, she'd be held responsible for using company resources for personal matters and might even face a lawsuit. She needed a reason, a plausible excuse, to turn this incident into a workplace accident or a revelation where she appeared as an involuntary victim. At that moment, the door to the editing suite opened and a young woman walked in. The heavy scent of Chanel perfume hit Nixayara's nostrils. It was Soraya Sterling, the new hire in the sales department, the same woman Theron had been actively promoting over the last 3 months, claiming she had potential and was the daughter of a major partner. Nixayara looked up and immediately recognized the shirt Soraya was wearing under her blazer. It was the cream silk shirt Nixayara had gifted Theron the month before, which he had refused to wear. And more importantly, those almond eyes were hers, the woman from the video. Soraya saw Nixayara and showed neither fear nor guilt. Instead, she approached, tilting her chin up with arrogance. "Mrs. Thorne, I heard you're running the morning broadcast today." "Yes, do you need something?" Nixayara asked, her eyes locked on the other woman. "I have this flash drive," Soraya said. "It has the greeting video the sales department is sending to the executives. Mr. Thorne asked me to give it to you so you could slot it in at the end of the program. He said he wanted to give everyone a surprise." Soraya placed a red flash drive on Nixayara's desk with an enigmatic smile. Nixayara looked at the drive and then back at Soraya. An electric current ran through her mind. Theron wanted to insert a greeting video, or was this girl acting on her own? Regardless, this was the opportunity Nixayara was looking for. "Mr. Thorne requested this?" Nixayara asked again, feigning naivety. "Yes, you know Mr. Thorne is busy, but he's always thoughtful of everyone. Please, just slot it in, but don't watch it beforehand. We don't want to spoil the surprise." Soraya winked, a gesture identical to the one in the video. Nixayara picked up the drive. She understood Soraya's game. She wanted to provoke her, to see if Nixayara would dare to do anything, or perhaps she thought the device contained another video to publicly unmask her. She was too arrogant, and arrogance is the grave of fools. "All right, if it's a request from Mr. Thorne and the sales department, I'll help. Don't you worry." Nixayara smiled. It was a glacial smile that made Soraya hesitate for a moment, though she quickly brushed it off. Soraya turned and walked out with a slithering gait. She didn't know Nixayara had a much more perfect plan. Nixayara waited for Soraya to get far enough away and then plugged the drive into a secondary computer to check. Just as she suspected, inside was a slideshow video with background music featuring Valentine's greetings from the sales team. But 30 seconds in, there was an inserted photo of Theron and Soraya standing very close, with Theron's hand casually on her waist. At first glance, it looked like a photo of colleagues, but a closer look revealed excessively intimate gazes. She wanted to use it to provoke her in front of the whole company. Child's play. Nixiara pulled the drive. She wouldn't use that file. She would use her own, that 90-second intimate video. But she would rename her file to match the one on Soraya's drive exactly, salesdeptgreetings.mp4. And most importantly, she would leave a technical trail to prove this file had been copied from the drive Soraya had just handed over. Kill two birds with one stone, expose the true face of the adulterous couple, and shift the responsibility to the mistress, claiming the mistress herself, out of jealousy or stupidity, had handed over the wrong file instead of the greetings video. Nixiara looked at the clock. 6:45. The lobby was starting to fill up. People were gathering in front of the massive LED screen to watch the news and the raffle. Isaiah Thorne, the assistant technical director, a quiet, rigorous man, walked into the suite. He saw Nixiara sitting motionless in front of the screen. Her face was pale, but her eyes were glowing with a terrifying light. "Nixiara, are you okay? It's almost time to go live," Isaiah asked in his deep voice. He was the only person at the company Nixiara felt she could trust professionally, though they rarely spoke about their personal lives. Nixiara looked up at Isaiah. For a moment, she wanted to tell him everything, to find a shoulder to lean on, but reason stopped her. This was her fight. "I'm fine, Isaiah. Better than fine," she replied firmly. "This will be the most memorable news broadcast in the history of Vertex Media." Isaiah frowned, sensing something off in her tone, but he didn't push. "I'll be in the main technical booth. Call me if you need anything." 7 o'clock sharp. The news theme music echoed across the giant screen in the lobby. The image of the smiling anchor appeared. "Good morning to everyone at Vertex Media. We wish you a Valentine's Day filled with joy and love." Nixiara sat in the control room, hands on the keyboard. Her heart was pounding so hard she felt her chest might explode, but her hand didn't shake. She looked through the surveillance cameras in the lobby. Theron had arrived. He was in the middle of the crowd, holding a vibrant bouquet of 99 red roses, likely to stage a public presentation for his wife. Soraya was nearby, exchanging flirtatious glances with him, looking triumphant. Both were smiling, smiles that were about to vanish. The program moved along, segment by segment. Activity news, employee honors, everything went smoothly. And then the final part arrived. The anchor said enthusiastically, "And now, a surprise gift from the sales department for the executives and the whole company. A special message of love." Nixiara took a deep breath. She closed her eyes for a second. The images of 5 years of sacrifice, of cold dinners waiting for her husband, of Theron's blatant lies, surfaced like a movie in slow motion. "Screw you, Theron," she thought. She pressed the enter key. The signal went out to the 200-inch LED screen in the lobby. The scene changed. It wasn't a bright slideshow of photos. The screen went black for 2 seconds and then abruptly lit up with the yellowish light of the hotel room. The volume was set to maximum. "Wake up, baby, and wish your wife a happy Valentine's Day. Come on." The lobby, which had been bustling with chatter, fell into absolute silence. Hundreds of eyes were glued to the screen. Theron was adjusting his tie, the smile frozen on his lips. Soraya was holding a glass of orange juice, and her hands were shaking uncontrollably. Nixiara sat in the control room, leaning back in her chair with her arms crossed, her eyes cold as ice, fixed on the monitor. The game had begun. The air in the Vertex Media lobby seemed to be sucked out in an instant. All the noise, the laughter, the soft music stopped, giving way to the raw, sordid sounds coming from the high-power sound system. "Wake up, baby, and wish your wife a happy Valentine's Day. Come on." Soraya's voice echoed against the stone walls and bounced back into the ears of the more than 200 employees present. On the giant screen, the image was cruelly sharp. Theron's bare back, the birthmark on his neck that Nixiara had kissed so many times with affection, all of it was now exposed for everyone to see. The camera shook, panning down to the red lace lingerie on the floor, and then turned to Soraya's smug face. "You're outdated, Grandma. Get some rest. Let me take care of him." The video froze on that image, Soraya's smiling face next to a deeply sleeping Theron. 1 second, 2 seconds, 3 seconds. A deathly silence hung in the air. It felt like time in Atlanta had literally stopped. Then chaos erupted. Murmurs started to rise like a swarm of bees, quickly turning into shouts of shock. Hundreds of phones were raised simultaneously. The crowd's instinct to gossip and film broke through with power. Live streams, Instagram stories, screenshots. It all happened in the blink of an eye. In the eye of the hurricane, Theron stood paralyzed, the bouquet of 99 red roses, which he had spent hundreds of dollars on to play the role of husband of the year, slowly slipped from his numb fingers. The bouquet hit the marble floor. The dark red petals scattered, crushed under his polished leather shoes, looking like bloodstains. Theron's face went from red to purple and then turned as white as wax. His eyes were wide open, staring at the screen as if he were seeing a ghost. He wanted to scream. He wanted someone to turn it off, but it was as if someone had poured hot lead down his throat. He couldn't say a word. Not far away, Soraya was living the worst nightmare of her life. Her glass of orange juice shattered on the floor. The sweet liquid splashed her designer dress and bare legs, but she didn't care. She looked at the screen and then at everyone around her. The looks of admiration for her beauty had transformed into sharpened knives of contempt, mockery, and judgment. "Oh my God, isn't that Soraya from sales? It's definitely her. Look at the mole under her eye." "That's disgusting." "That's Mr. Thorne's watch." "Wait, Mr. Thorne's wife is Nick Ciara from editing? How does she have the nerve to film that and send it to her?" The murmurs reached Soraya's ears clearly. She was trembling, covering her face with both hands, backing up until she bumped into a colleague. The colleague scrambled away as if she were contagious. At that moment, from the mezzanine, a powerful voice boomed like thunder. "Turn that off! Turn that garbage off immediately! Where is tech? Where is security?" It was Mr. Quincy Abernathy, the CEO of the company. He had just returned from a client meeting and walked into the lobby at the height of the frenzy. Mr. Abernathy's face was beet red with anger. One of the largest media companies in the region was having an incident with obscene content in its main lobby on Valentine's Day. It was an irreparable disgrace. The LED screen went pitch black, but the image was already burned into everyone's retinas. More importantly, it was safe on the phones of hundreds of employees. Nick Ciara walked out of the control room calmly. She had taken off her blazer and was wearing only a simple white shirt tucked into her black trousers, accentuating her slender but upright figure. Her face was lightly made up, but her eyes looked vacant. In a panic, a performance worthy of an Oscar, she stumbled toward Theron as if all the energy had been drained from her body. "Theron," Nick Ciara called out, her voice trembling, choked, and broken. "What? What is that? Tell me, what is that?" Theron shuddered and turned to see his wife. The small amount of reason he had left surfaced. A liar's survival instinct prompted him to deny, to explain, even with the evidence so blatant. "Nick Ciara, listen to me. It's not what you think. It's a setup. It's a deepfake. Technology is so advanced now. Someone is trying to ruin me." Theron stepped forward to grab Nick Ciara's hand, but she stepped back. Her eyes flashed with extreme disgust, making him stop. "A setup?" Nick Ciara smiled, a distorted, painful smile. "Do you think I'm stupid? The watch I gave you on our 3rd anniversary, the scar on your back from that fall last year, who would set all that up, Theron?" She pointed to Soraya, who was huddled in a corner of the lobby. "And her? That voice? That face? Are you going to say she's a setup too?" Every eye turned toward Soraya. Soraya was like a cornered animal. She suddenly screamed, pointing at Nick Ciara. "It was you! You're the one who broadcast this on purpose! You set me up! You're trying to kill me!" The crowd gasped. The plot of the mistress accusing the wife made the drama even more intense. Nick Ciara widened her eyes in total shock. She put her hand to her chest, her voice full of pain. "What are you saying? That I set you up? This morning, you were the one who came to the suite and gave me that red flash drive, saying it was a surprise gift from Theron and the sales department for everyone. You told me to slot it in at the end and not to watch it so we could keep it a secret." Nixira pulled the bright red flash drive from her pocket. She held it up for everyone to see. "Here is the proof. The cameras in the editing suite must have recorded the moment you handed it to me. Because I trusted my husband, because I trusted a colleague, I followed the instructions. Who would have thought? Who would have thought that behind this layer of greetings, you were hiding this trash to humiliate me? To humiliate the company?" Nixira screamed the last sentence. Tears began to flow, but behind the tears was a firmness that silenced Soraya. Nixira's argument was irrefutable. The drive belonged to Soraya. She was in the video, and there was no reason for Nixira to broadcast her husband's betrayal and shame herself in front of the whole company. In the eyes of everyone, Nixira was now just an innocent victim, cruelly deceived by her husband's mistress. "You tramp!" A curse rang out, followed by a loud slap. Theron, in his madness, driven by the fear of losing his job and his honor, ran over and slapped Soraya. The slap was so hard she fell to the floor with the corner of her mouth bleeding. "You ruined me! I told you to delete that! Why did you give it to my wife? Are you crazy?" Theron roared, completely forgetting his usual image of a dignified man. Soraya held her face, looking at her lover with shattered eyes. The man who, just the night before, was whispering sweet words, promising to leave his wife for her, was now hitting her in public to save himself. "You hit me! You dare hit me!" Soraya screamed, lunging at Theron and scratching him. "You're the one who asked me to film it. You said it was for memories. You said your wife was like a log, that you were fed up, and now you're blaming me?" The scene was unprecedented chaos. The VP of External Relations and a sales employee fighting and insulting each other in the lobby over crushed rose petals. Security intervened, having difficulty prying them apart. "Everyone to the boardroom, Nixira included," Mr. Abernathy ordered. His voice was shaking with rage. He turned to the crowd. "Anyone filming or taking photos will be fired immediately. Disperse, get back to your desks." The crowd scattered, but the murmurs couldn't be silenced. A tsunami of news was already spreading from Vertex Media across the city of Atlanta. Boardroom, 10th floor. The air was suffocating, tense as a wire about to snap. Mr. Abernathy sat at the head of the table, slamming his hand down on the polished wood. Beside him were the head of HR and Isaiah Thorne. Theron sat with his head down, hair a mess, several scratches on his neck from Soraya's nails. Soraya sat opposite him, sobbing with smeared makeup, looking like a tragic clown. Nixira sat separately in a corner, her back straight. She had wiped her tears, regaining her terrifying calm. She knew the emotional drama was over. Now was the time for reason to finish her adversaries. "Who explains this to me?" Mr. Abernathy shouted. "Where did that video come from? Why was it in the morning news system?" "Sir, it was her," Theron stammered, pointing at Soraya. "She set me up. I was very drunk, and I didn't know anything. She filmed it in secret and gave it to my wife on her own." "Liar," Soraya screamed. "You weren't drunk. You were perfectly sober. You even posed for it. And I did give the drive to Mrs. Thorne. It's true, but I swear I only copied the greeting slideshow. I don't know how it turned into that video." Soraya turned to Nixira with eyes full of hate. "It was you! You must have swapped the file. You're tech-savvy. You can do it." All eyes turned to Nixira. Nixira stood up slowly, in no rush to defend herself. She walked to the front of Mr. Abernathy and placed the red flash drive on the table. "Mr. CEO, with your permission, I would like to speak." Her voice was calm and clear. "This morning, Ms. Sterling gave me this drive in front of the security camera. I plugged it in and saw a file named Sales Dept Greetings MP4. trusting that the content had already been approved by Mr. Thorne, as she said, and because of the time crunch, I inserted it directly into the playlist. She turned to Isaiah, her eyes sending a silent signal. Isaiah is the technical head. He can verify the file history on my computer to see if it's true that the file was copied from this drive and if there was any editing. Isaiah adjusted his glasses and looked at Nixira. As a tech expert, he knew at a glance that there had been interference. Swapping video content while keeping the original name wasn't hard for someone with Nixira's skills. But he also saw the contained pain in the depths of this woman's eyes. He had witnessed her dedication to the company and had known about Theron's womanizing for a long time. In a moment of conscience and empathy, Isaiah chose a side. He plugged the drive into the laptop, typed a few lines of code, and looked up with a neutral voice. "Mr. CEO, according to the system logs, the video file broadcast at 7:15 this morning was copied directly from this flash drive at 6:30. The file name and size match. There are no signs of editing or clipping on Mrs. Thorne's workstation." Isaiah's words were the final nail in Soraya's coffin. "It can't be! You're lying! Are you two covering for each other?" Soraya screamed in desperation. "Silence!" Mr. Abernathy slammed the table. "The proof is right there, and you still deny it? You handed over a drive with obscene content, and worse, an adultery video with a superior, and broadcast it in the workplace. Are you trying to ruin this company?" Mr. Abernathy turned to Theron with a look of deep disappointment. "And you, Theron? I promoted you because I thought you were competent and had a stable family. I never imagined you were so depraved, taking employees on business trips and doing these things, exposing a video that severely damages the company's image. Do you know how many calls I've received from partners since this morning?" Theron slipped out of his chair and fell to his knees. "Sir, please have mercy. I made a mistake. It was a moment of weakness. I'll resolve everything peacefully." "Resolve? How? How are you going to resolve it when all of Atlanta is sharing your video?" Mr. Abernathy laughed sarcastically. "HR, prepare the immediate termination letter for Soraya Sterling for a gross violation of workplace discipline and ethics. As for you, Theron, you are suspended immediately. The disciplinary board will evaluate the level of damages to the brand, and then there will be a formal firing decision." "Sir, please!" Soraya cried out, running to grab Mr. Abernathy's legs, but she was dragged away by security. Her screams echoed down the hall, desperate and pathetic, but no one pitied her. Theron sat on the floor, pale as a ghost. He looked at Nixira, eyes begging for help. "Baby, say something for me. If I lose this job, I lose everything. What about us?" Nixira looked down at her husband kneeling at her feet. The man she had considered her world was now just a pile of cowardly ashes. She remembered the message from this morning. "Old lady, rest." She leaned in, whispering close to Theron's ear, so only the two of them could hear. Her voice was cold as a northern wind. "Worried about our future child? Don't worry, they'll be fine. But not with your dirty money. And remember this well, Theron. I was the one who swapped the video. But what can you do to me now?" Theron looked at his wife with extreme terror. He realized that the woman in front of him was no longer the gentle, submissive wife. He had awakened a demon, and now he was being devoured by it. Nixira stood up, turning to Mr. Abernathy. "Sir, I ask for permission to leave. I am very tired." Mr. Abernathy looked at her with pity and nodded. "Go get some rest. The company will handle this fairly for you. Don't worry." Nixira nodded and walked out of the boardroom. The door closed behind her, cutting off the noise and the judgment. She leaned against the wall, her legs going weak, and she slid down, her whole body shaking uncontrollably. The extreme tension of playing the perfect actress had sucked all the energy out of her. She put her hands to her chest, where her heart was squeezing in spasms. She won. She had won this game of turning the tables. But why? Why didn't she feel the euphoria she had imagined? Only a void, an immense, desolate void. Her family, her home of 5 years, was officially shattered from that moment on. "Drink some water." A bottle of mineral water was held out in front of her. Nixayara looked up. It was Isaiah Thorne. He had followed her. Nixayara took the bottle with still shaking hands. "Thanks for what you did in there. Thanks for not—" Isaiah sat down beside her, keeping a respectful distance. He looked forward and spoke casually. "Computers don't lie, but people can choose how to read the data. I only read what was necessary to protect the person who deserved protecting." He turned to her with deep eyes. "But Nixayara, by doing this you've cut off your way back. Theron is a vile, cornered man. He will bite. You have to be careful." Nixayara squeezed the water bottle, the plastic crinkling. Her eyes gradually regained their determination. She stood up, straightened her wine-colored blazer, and smoothed her hair. "Way back? Since I received that video at 4:30 this morning, I haven't had a way back, Isaiah. Now I only have one path. Move forward and crush anyone who stands in my way." She looked at Isaiah and gave him a slight smile, the first sincere smile of the day. "Thanks. I owe you one." With that, Nixayara turned and walked toward the elevator. Her step was strong and proud again, like a warrior walking out of the smoke of battle. She knew the earthquake in the lobby today was just the prologue. Theron lost his job, Soraya was fired, but they were still out there, and most importantly, the legal battle for divorce, the division of assets, and the battle for public opinion were just beginning. Nixayara's phone vibrated incessantly in her pocket. She pulled it out to see a barrage of Facebook notifications. The video in the lobby had been filmed by someone and posted in the biggest Atlanta community groups with sensational headlines. Valentine's chaos at Vertex Media. VP exposed in intimate video in lobby. Wife takes stand. The post had thousands of likes and shares in just 30 minutes. Nixayara looked at the screen, and the corners of her mouth lifted slightly. "Good. The more noise there is, the faster your mask of hypocrisy falls off." She stepped into the elevator and pressed the button for the garage. Her Lexus was waiting for her. She needed to go home, pack her bags, and prepare for the third act of the drama, the part where her in-laws, who always blindly defended their son, were waiting for her with words that wouldn't be kind. The red Lexus rolled slowly down Peachtree Street. It was noon in Atlanta. The fog had lifted, but the cold was still there, seeping through clothes. But the cold of the weather was nothing compared to the cold emanating from the spacious 3-story house at the end of the block that Nixayara had called home for the past 5 years. The gate was half open. The atmosphere was eerily silent. Nixayara turned off the engine, sitting in the car for a few minutes to calm herself. She looked in the rearview mirror, touching up the foundation that had smeared slightly from sweat and tension. She applied more red lipstick. To Nixayara, lipstick wasn't just makeup. It was armor, a weapon to hide lips that were about to tremble in pain. "You can do this, Nixayara. You aren't wrong. They are," she told herself. She took a deep breath and opened the door. As soon as she walked into the yard, she found a pile of clothes, books, and cosmetics thrown messily onto the red brick ground. Her favorite dresses were crumpled, dirty with dust, and her editing books had their covers torn. Nixayara smiled ironically. This childish, cowardly act could only be the work of Mother Odessa, her mother-in-law. She stepped over the mess as if walking past a pile of trash and went straight to the living room. The air inside was suffocating like a funeral home. Mr. Malachi, her father-in-law, was sitting on the sofa, smoking a pipe loudly. Thick smoke floated in the air. Mother Odessa was sitting next to him, wiping away tears with a handkerchief, but her eyes were sharp as razors. "Oh, she dares to show her face in this house? Promiscuous woman, low-life, home-wrecker!" Mother Odessa screamed in her high-pitched, shrill voice, breaking the silence. Nixayara stopped in the middle of the room, neither sitting nor lowering her head. She looked directly at her mother-in-law, her voice eerily calm. "Hello, Father. Hello, Mother. I'm back to collect the rest of my things. As for who is promiscuous and a low life, I think Mother should watch the video circulating on social media of her own son. You still have the nerve to be disrespectful. Mother Odessa stood up abruptly, running to slap Nixiara. But Nixiara wasn't the patient daughter-in-law she used to be. She raised her hand, stopping Mother Odessa's arm in midair. She didn't squeeze hard, just held it firmly enough to push her back. Mother, calm down. Hitting me will only hurt your hand. Besides, I am no longer an object for you to do with as you please. Mother Odessa stood stunned, looking at her daughter-in-law as if she were seeing a stranger. For the last 5 years, Nixiara had been the daughter-in-law who said, "Yes, Mother," and "Of course, Mother," hard-working, gentle, even a bit submissive. She could criticize and nag her for not giving them grandchildren, and Nixiara would just smile. But today, she had dared to block her hand. She had dared to look her in the eye with that cold gaze. "Malachi, hold me!" Mother Odessa turned to her husband, but Mr. Malachi continued to sit in silence, only sighing deeply. "You killed my son. You ruined this family." Mother Odessa shifted to wailing and lamenting. "Theron just had a small lapse, but men have mistresses. It's normal. He went out and cheated, but he still brought home money to take care of you. And you expose our secret to the world? You spread that video so everyone can laugh at our family? Now he's lost his job. He's lost all his honor. Are you satisfied?" Nixiara felt a knot in her throat hearing that. The argument that men cheat and it's normal, used by mothers who blindly defend their sons. She had heard it in movies, but never thought she'd experience it firsthand. "Mother, you talk so well," Nixiara laughed bitterly. "Having mistresses is Middle Ages thinking, Mother. We're in the 21st century now. The law requires monogamy. Your son didn't just cheat on me. He allowed his mistress to film me and humiliate me by sending it to me at 4:30 in the morning. Does Mother know how that feels? Or does she only care about the rotten honor of her son?" She pulled out her phone, reopened Soraya's message, and showed it to Mother Odessa. "Look at this, Mother. You're outdated, Grandma. Get some rest. Is this the kind of woman your son is pampering? He used our savings to buy her bags and a Rolex while our dishwasher has been broken for 3 months, and he didn't even bother to fix it. Does Mother want me to put up with this? Put up with it so she can walk all over me?" Mother Odessa looked at the screen and hesitated for a moment, seeing the bold message, but the maternal instinct to protect her son overrode all reason. "But it's your fault for not knowing how to keep your husband. You're cold as ice. You only think about work, and you always have a long face at home. Theron is a man. He needs sweetness. That girl was smarter. She knew how to please him. That's why he strayed. The fault is yours in part." Nixiara laughed out loud, a clear laugh full of contempt. "Yes, the fault is mine. The fault is mine for sacrificing my career in New York to come to Atlanta to be the daughter-in-law of this family. The fault is mine for spending all my bonus money to buy supplements for Father and new clothes for Mother. The fault is mine for working overtime to pay off your son's gambling debts last year. Have you forgotten so quickly, Mother?" At the mention of the gambling, Mr. Malachi, who was smoking, coughed violently. He set the pipe down and looked at his daughter-in-law with cloudy eyes. "Enough talk," Mr. Malachi said in a raspy voice. "What's done is done. Now Theron is in a bind. You are the wife. You have to be compassionate. Go back to the company and correct what you said. Say it was a misunderstanding, that it was your jealousy and you set it up. Save your husband's career, and then your mother and I will force him to apologize and cut ties with that girl." Nixiara looked at her father-in-law with deep disillusionment. In his eyes, his son's honor and career were more important than the daughter-in-law's dignity. They wanted her to take all the blame, turning herself into a crazy, jealous woman to whitewash her husband. "Father, do you think people are stupid enough to believe that excuse?" Nixiara shook her head, exasperated. "And I'll tell you clearly one last time. Theron and I are getting a divorce. The papers are already prepared. I am never going back to a traitor." "Divorce!" Mother Odessa screamed. "You dare? If you walk out of this house, you don't take a cent. This house belongs to my parents. This land is my parents'. You'll leave here empty-handed." "I don't want the house," Nixiara replied with icy eyes. but I will take back what is mine. The $50,000 I saved in Theron's name for our future child? I'm claiming it in full. And that Lexus? That's money my parents gave me to buy it. The title is in my name." You! Mother Odessa was speechless, pointing at Nixayara's face, shaking uncontrollably. At that moment, the sound of a car engine revving echoed at the gate. Theron had arrived. He burst into the house like a hurricane. The smell of alcohol was intense. His clothes were disheveled, and his eyes were red and aggressive. As soon as he saw Nixayara in the middle of the room, his fury exploded. "You tramp! You still dare to come back here?" Theron grabbed a glass ashtray from the table and threw it with force toward Nixayara. Crash! Nixayara dodged it quickly. The ashtray hit the wall and shattered. Shards of glass flew, grazing her ankle and making it bleed slightly. "Theron, are you crazy?" Mr. Malachi shouted, standing up to intervene. But Theron had lost all reason. He had just been fired. He had been insulted by Soraya, who was demanding money. He had been mocked by his friends via text. Everything had accumulated into an explosive, and Nixayara was the detonator. "I'll kill you! You made me lose everything! You swapped the video, didn't you? I know it was you, you venomous woman!" Theron lunged to grab Nixayara's hair, trying to pull her head down. Nixayara felt an unbearable pain in her scalp, but survival instinct burst through stronger than ever. She didn't cry. She didn't beg. She raised her hand, and with all her might, she slapped Theron. The unexpected slap stunned Theron, making him let go of her hair. Nixayara backed up and grabbed the mop leaning in a corner of the room, pointing the metal handle directly at her husband's face. "Take one more step and I will have no mercy. Do you think I'm the weak Nixayara of before, that you can hit whenever you want?" Her voice roared, echoing through the house. Her eyes shone with hate and determination. The image of a cornered woman ready to fight to the death to protect herself made Theron stop. He had never seen his wife like this. You dare hit your husband?" Theron held his cheek, stammering. Nixayara smiled ironically, still holding the handle. "The moment you lay with another and allowed her to send me a video, you died in my heart. You're just a lowlife, a horrible man who doesn't deserve to be called a husband." She turned to her in-laws, who were paralyzed. "Mother, father, look at him. This is the golden son you defend. He cheats, he hits his wife, he's a gambling addict. Keep him and worship him. I'm out." Nixayara dropped the mop with a dry click, turned around, and walked toward the door without even looking at the pile of clothes in the yard. She didn't need them. She would buy new ones. A new life required new, clean things. "Stop!" Theron shouted. "Where are you going? Going to meet who? You're having an affair with that Isaiah. I saw how he defended you at the office. Oh, so you've got lovers too, and you set me up for an excuse to run off with your new boyfriend. Is that it?" Nixayara stopped at the threshold. The cold wind hit her face, bringing the moisture of the fine rain that was starting to fall. She turned her head to look at Theron one last time. Her gaze held no anger, only pity. Pity for a total loser who was still trying to drag others into the mud to feel superior. "Do you think everyone is as dirty as you?" she said in a low, cold voice. "Isaiah is a decent man. He helped me because he saw an injustice. As for you, hold on to that sick thought and live the rest of your life with it. Oh, and one more thing. I remember the $30,000 debt you took out from street lenders to buy gifts for Soraya. The loan receipt you hid under the insole of your shoes? I took photos of everything. If you dare bother me or my family, I'll send them to the finance company and the police and see if you still have a future after that." Theron went pale as a corpse. His darkest secret, the thing that terrified him most. Nixayara had known all along. "How? Since when did you know?" "Since you started sneaking around. I didn't say anything because I wanted to give you a chance to change, but you chose to go straight off the cliff, so I won't stop you either." With that, Nixayara walked out and got in her car. She started the engine and accelerated. The car sped away, leaving behind the house full of storm. leaving behind the man screaming in desperation and the two elderly people realizing the true tragedy of their family. Nixayara drove without a destination, following the banks of the Chattahoochee River. The water was low this season, revealing gray and monotonous pebble banks. The rain started to fall harder. Only then did her tears begin to flow. She cried convulsively, her sobs drowned out by the sound of the rain on the car window. It hurt. It hurt so much. 5 years of youth, so much love, trust, and hope, now reduced to ashes. She had won the battle against the mistress. She had confronted her husband's family. But who would heal the wound in her heart? She parked the car on the shoulder, resting her head on the steering wheel and crying like a child. Her phone rang. Nixayara wiped her tears and looked at the screen. It was an unknown number, but with a very elegant ending. 888. She hesitated for a moment and answered, "Hello?" Her voice was still broken. "Nixayara Thorne, I'm Dr. Sterling. No, sorry, Dr. James, attorney for Vertex Media. The CEO, Mr. Abernathy, asked me to contact you." "Yes, hello, Dr. James, what is it?" Nixayara struggled to keep her composure. "Mr. Abernathy wants you to take a week of paid leave to settle things. As for Mr. Theron, the company has made the formal decision to fire him and is starting the process for brand damage compensation." The lawyer hesitated a bit. "However, a legal issue has surfaced regarding marital assets that Mr. Theron mortgaged using the company as a guarantee. Can you meet with me? This is very important and is directly related to your rights after the divorce." Nixayara frowned. "Mortgaged assets? We never mortgaged anything. The house belongs to his parents unless—" A bad feeling surfaced. What had Theron done behind her back? "Yes, I'm coming right now. Where shall we meet?" "At the coffee shop across from the office. I'll be waiting." Nixayara hung up, looking at herself in the rearview mirror with swollen eyes. Her mascara was slightly smeared. She wiped it away and applied more lipstick. The battle wasn't over. It had just entered a new phase, the battle of money and the law. Theron wasn't just an emotional traitor. He was a financial parasite. And Nixayara knew that if she wasn't smart, she wouldn't just lose her husband, she would inherit a giant debt. "All right, Theron. You want to play until the end? I'll play until the end with you." Nixayara accelerated. The car cut through the rain and moved forward. Meanwhile, in a decaying roadside diner, Soraya Sterling was huddled in a corner. On her face were still the marks of Theron's hand. She had just been kicked out of her apartment by the landlord, who didn't want to be associated with a home wrecker. Her bank account was frozen due to a company investigation into the fraudulent expenses she and Theron had organized. Soraya was using her phone to read the comments insulting her online. The hate in her eyes ignited fiercely. "Nixayara, you cornered me. Do you think you've won? If I've lost everything, you won't have peace either." She dialed a number and called a man whose name was saved as Cassius Collection in her contact list. "Hello, Cassius. It's Soraya. I have a good lead for you. Theron's wife has $50,000 in cash. If you want to collect Theron's debt, find his wife. I'm sending you the location of her car." The real storm, the storm of violence and dark tactics, was silently approaching Nixayara at the very moment she thought she had escaped the swamp. The coffee shop was located at a busy intersection in Midtown, across from Vertex Media. Outside, the fine rain had turned into a downpour, pounding violently against the large glass panels and blurring the yellow streetlights. Nixayara walked in, shaking her soaked umbrella. The cold air from the AC made her shiver, or maybe it was the feeling of unease seeping into every cell. Dr. James was sitting in a discreet corner. On the table was a thick folder. Beside him, surprisingly, was Isaiah Thorne. Nixayara hesitated for a second. Why was Isaiah there? "Hey, sit down," Isaiah said first, with a calm, reassuring voice. "I was the one who asked Dr. James to carefully check your documents. There are technical legal overlaps, and I think you need to know." Nick Sayara sat down, ordering a hot tea, and looked at the two men across from her. Her intuition told her the news she was about to receive wouldn't be good. "Let's get straight to the point," Nick Sayara said. Her hands were crossed over the table to hide the trembling. Dr. James pushed the folder toward her, opening a page with a red seal. "Mrs. Thorne, do you know anything about this loan?" Nick Sayara picked up the document. It was a mortgage loan contract with a private finance company, actually a predatory street lender in disguise. The amount was $200,000. The collateral was the Lexus she drove, and a down payment contract for a luxury condo that wasn't even built yet, which the couple had planned to invest in last year. The most terrifying part was at the bottom of the page. The signature of the wife, Nick Sayara Thorne. "This!" Nick Sayara's eyes went wide, her voice failing. "I never signed this. The signature looks very much like mine, but it's not." "I know," Dr. James nodded seriously. "It's a forged signature. Mr. Theron used your personal information and forged your signature to get this loan 3 months ago. The purpose stated was business investment, but our investigation shows the money was transferred to other personal accounts to pay off gambling debts and luxury purchases." "Gambling," Nick Sayara whispered, feeling the floor crumble beneath her feet. She knew Theron liked to bet, but she hadn't imagined he would dare do this. $200,000, a colossal amount. "The problem is this," Isaiah continued, turning the screen of his laptop toward her. "This contract has a clause stating that if the borrower becomes insolvent or violates the law, like being sued or fired, the creditor has the right to seize the collateral immediately without going to court. In other words, the car you drive and your savings for the house are technically in their hands." "Damn him!" Nick Sayara slammed the table, tears of rage springing forth. "He tricked me. He tricked me into signing blank papers tucked into insurance paperwork, saying it was a routine procedure. I trusted him." The stupidity of that trust was the highest price Nick Sayara was paying. She thought she had control of the finances, but Theron had been undermining her in secret for a long time. He supported Soraya with her sweat, tears, and financial security. "So, what do I do now? I didn't sign. Can I sue him for fraud?" "You can," Dr. James replied. "But the process of verifying the forgery will take time, months maybe, and in that period, the creditors won't stay idle. This is the company of Cassius Cash Graves, the head of the street lenders in this area. They don't work by the law, they work by the laws of the street." At that moment, Nick Sayara's phone vibrated. A call from an unknown number. Nick Sayara looked at the screen and then at Isaiah. He nodded, indicating she should answer, but with the speaker on. "Hello?" A raspy male voice, like gravel on asphalt, echoed. "Is this Mrs. Thorne? This is Cash. I imagine you know your husband owes me a good amount." "No, I didn't borrow money. Whoever borrowed it, let them pay," Nick Sayara replied, struggling to keep her voice steady. "Oh, I like how you talk, but your name is on the paper. Your signature is there. Theron is broke and doesn't have a cent. I'm not looking for him. I'm looking for you. I heard you've got $50,000 in cash and you're driving my car. Come see me on West Peachtree, number 88. Right now. Don't make me come find you. It won't be pleasant." And he hung up. Nick Sayara let her hand fall. Soraya. Again, Soraya. She didn't just want to steal her husband and her honor. Now she wanted to send her to her death. She was using loan sharks for revenge. "They know I was going to back home to my parents," Nick Sayara said, her face livid. "They're going to block the road." Isaiah frowned, thinking fast. He typed on the keyboard, accessing the company's internal GPS system, where all company cars and parked personal cars were equipped with a tracking tag. "Your car," he said. "I suspect it has an extra GPS device installed. Theron must have put it there to track you. And now he or Soraya has given the access to the loan sharks. Then I have to leave the car." "No." Isaiah said, standing up with determined eyes. "If you leave the car, they'll go to your parents' house and make a scene. We have to draw the snake out of the hole and finish it here. Do you trust me?" Nixayara looked at the man in front of her. He wasn't a relative, just a colleague. But in the middle of this storm, he was the only life raft she could cling to. "I trust you." 30 minutes later, Nixayara's red Lexus pulled out of the central parking lot, flying through the downpour toward the highway to leave the city. Nixayara was at the wheel, hands squeezing it tight. The passenger seat was empty, save for her bag, but Nixayara wasn't alone. An imposing black Ford Ranger followed her car silently about 50 yards behind. It was Isaiah's truck. In her Bluetooth earpiece, his voice sounded calm and steady. "Keep your speed. I'm right behind you. My dashcam is recording in maximum resolution. Dr. James is with me. He's already contacted Chief Superintendent Miller of the APD. "Understood," Nixayara said. "But I'm scared." "Don't be. They're just vultures wanting to steal carrion. You're alive and you're stronger than them. Follow the route and turn toward the bypass behind the stadium. It's deserted, but it has newly installed city security cameras." Nixayara swallowed hard and turned right. The road behind the stadium was empty. On both sides were vacant lots with weeds. The rain made the asphalt slippery. Suddenly, from a small alley up ahead, 2 motorcycles sped out, weaving to block Nixayara's car. Behind her, an old black SUV also closed in. Boxed in. The trap had closed. "They're here, Isaiah!" Nixayara exclaimed, her heart beating uncontrollably. "Stop the car, lock the doors, don't roll down the windows for any reason, start the private live stream and share it with me and Dr. James immediately." Nixayara braked hard. The car skidded a bit on the slippery asphalt and stopped. Immediately, a group of thugs jumped off the bikes. The leader was a large man, bald, with a long scar on his face running from his eyelid to his chin. Cash was wearing a black leather jacket and holding a baseball bat. He approached the driver's window, tapping tap, tap with the tip of the bat. "Hey, pretty Nixayara, get out of the car so we can have a friendly little chat." He smiled maliciously, revealing smoke-stained teeth. Nixayara was inside the car, holding the phone and filming his face directly. She struggled to keep her voice calm, speaking through the glass. "I have nothing to talk to you about. Get out of my way." "Wow, such boldness, huh?" Cash spat on the ground. "Soraya said you were fierce. I believe it now. Listen, your husband cheated on you, but the money I lent is real. If you don't pay, I smash this car, and then I go to your parents' house to chat." He raised the bat, threatening to hit the windshield. Inside, Nixayara was trembling uncontrollably. Instinctive fear took over. But then the image of Soraya smiling victoriously, the image of Theron being a coward came to mind. They wanted to corner her. They wanted her to be afraid, to kneel and beg. No, she'd rather die on her feet than live on her knees. Nixayara slammed the horn loudly. The sound of the horn tore through the rain like the steel cry of a wounded animal rising. "Hit it! Hit it!" Nixayara shouted inside the car, knowing they couldn't hear her clearly. "I'm streaming live! Thousands of people are watching! If you touch me, you go to jail!" Cash hesitated, seeing the phone held up. He was a thug, but he feared the law, especially when the matter went public on social media. At that moment, the headlights of the truck behind blinded the thugs. Isaiah accelerated. The Ford Ranger roared like a beast, advancing toward the men surrounding Nixayara's car. Cash's thugs jumped to the sides, startled. Isaiah braked hard, stopping his truck sideways to protect Nixayara's car. He opened the door and stepped out. He didn't carry a bat or a gun. He was wearing only his impeccable office suit, but his aura completely dominated the thugs. "Cash," Isaiah called out in his cold voice. "Quite a business you've got. Trying to extort a woman in the middle of the street in broad daylight?" Cash narrowed his eyes, recognizing him. Everyone in Atlanta who worked in business knew Isaiah Thorne, the tech wizard, the man who managed security systems for many major agencies. "And you? Who are you? Wanting to stick your nose in other people's lives?" Cash growled. "I'm the attorney for Mrs. Thorne," Dr. James said, also getting out of the truck. He held his phone, in contact with Chief Miller. "Cash, you want to say a few words to him, or do you want me to put it on speaker?" At the mention of Chief Miller, Cash's face paled. He knew he had messed up. He had heard about the Vertex media scandal that morning, but thought Nixayara was just an abandoned woman without support. He hadn't imagined she had such strong backing. All right. Cash ground his teeth, lowering the bat. He pointed at Isaiah and then at Nixayara inside the car. "Today, for you, I'll let it pass. But a debt is still a debt. It's on paper and ink. I'll sue in court. Don't say I didn't warn you." "Sue," Isaiah replied firmly. "We're waiting for the forgery verification. And also tell that Soraya that her actions in providing leads and inciting violence. I have enough evidence. Tell her to get ready for jail." Cash snorted, gesturing to his men to pull back. The sound of the bikes accelerating disappeared, returning silence to the deserted road. Only when the thugs vanished completely did Nixayara dare open the door and get out of the car. Her legs no longer supported her. She fell to her knees next to the wheel, tears running uncontrollably. "Nixayara!" Isaiah ran to hold her. Nixayara clung to the sleeve of his jacket, crying inconsolably. All the strength and resilience she had built since morning crumbled before this man. "They wanted to kill me. Why? What did I do wrong? Why did they treat me like this?" Isaiah didn't say anything, just gave her gentle pats on the shoulder, letting her release all her fear. He understood this was her most vulnerable moment, her most human moment. "You haven't done anything wrong," Isaiah said softly, his deep voice blending with the sound of the rain. "You just chose the wrong person to trust, but it's over. I'm here. No one can hurt you." Those words, in the middle of the cold Atlanta rain, were like a small bonfire warming Nixayara's dying heart. Dr. James, from Isaiah's truck, looked on and sighed softly. He knew the legal battle ahead with the lenders would be difficult, but seeing the way Isaiah protected Nixayara, he believed this woman wouldn't fall. That night, Nixayara didn't go back to her parents' house for fear that the loan sharks would look for her and bother them. Isaiah took her to a luxury apartment in a new complex with 24-hour security. It was an investment property he had bought but hadn't used yet. "You can stay here for now. I've changed the door code. You have the basics." Isaiah left the key on the table. "I'm going to my place 2 blocks away. Call me if you need anything." Nixayara was sitting on the sofa, holding a cup of hot milk. She looked at the strange but cozy apartment, feeling an indescribable gratitude. "Why are you so good to me?" Nixayara asked, looking closely at Isaiah. "I'm just a colleague, and I'm wrapped in a scandal." Isaiah was by the window looking at the city lights. He was silent for a moment, and then turned to her with a sincere gaze. "Because 3 years ago, when I joined the company and was sidelined by everyone for my rigid character, you were the only one who shared her lunch with me and taught me how to fit in. You might have forgotten, but I haven't." Nixayara was amazed. She remembered that at the time, she only thought about helping a new colleague. She never imagined that the seed of kindness she had planted that day would transform into a mature tree to protect her in the storm. "Thanks. Get some rest. Tomorrow we have a lot of work. Soraya won't stop." Isaiah left. The door closed. Nixayara lay in bed but couldn't sleep. She picked up her phone and opened her profile. Besides words of support, malicious comments began to surface, digging into her personal life, inventing stories that she was having an affair with Isaiah so she could set her husband up. And behind those anonymous handles was no one but Soraya. In a dark corner of the city, in a cheap boarding house, Soraya was typing frantically. Her hair was disheveled, her eyes swollen and bloodshot. "You escaped Cash, but you won't escape people's tongues, Nixayara. If I die, you have to die too." Beside her, Theron was curled under the blanket, shivering from hunger and fear of being found by creditors. He murmured in his delirium, "Baby, save me." Soraya heard him, turning toward Theron with a look of deep contempt. She spat on the floor. "Useless! Just wait. I'll send you both to hell." The battle wasn't over. It was shifting from a direct confrontation to a more terrifying form, psychological warfare and reputation destruction. And Nixayara knew that to beat these vultures, she couldn't just defend herself. She had to become the hunter. The faint morning light of spring filtered through the gray curtains of the luxury apartment where Nixayara was staying. She woke up with a throbbing headache after a restless night of nightmares, the sound of bats hitting car glass, and Soraya's maniacal laughter. Nixayara reached for her phone. Her professional habit made her check the news as soon as she woke up. But today, the news was her. As soon as she opened Facebook, a torrent of red notifications hit her. It wasn't the sympathy from the day before, but a new wave of outrage. But the tip of the spear was pointed at her. A long post was made by an anonymous handle called Atlanta Truth, accompanied by a series of cleverly edited images. The headline, "The Shocking Twist, the wife is the real villain, cheating on her husband with the tech director and setting a trap to steal assets and rise to the top." The content painted a completely different scenario. Nixayara and Azaya had been having an affair for a long time. Theron, being too naive and trusting of his wife, had been neglected by Nixayara and pushed into Soraya's arms. The article accused Nixayara of deliberately staging the video to humiliate her husband with the goal of getting a divorce, obtaining assets, and clearing the way for her relationship with Azaya. The proof presented was a photo taken secretly the night before. Azaya helping Nixayara when she was in panic after the car siege and entering the condo at midnight. The blurred angle made the act of helping her look like an intimate embrace. This was joined by photos of Nixayara getting out of Azaya's truck. In the comments section, there were thousands of hate messages. "Oh my God, she looks so innocent, but she's so bad. Turns out the husband was cheating, and she was too, and she plays the victim. Poor husband, he's lost his honor and money. That mistress must have been just a pawn. Boycott Vertex Media. What a den of promiscuity." Nixayara read line by line. She didn't cry. The tears had dried since the afternoon before. Instead, a flame of rage ignited in her chest, burning away all the weakness that remained. Soraya didn't just want to ruin Nixayara. She wanted to drag Azaya, her benefactor, into the mud. This evil had overstepped the limits of human decency. The doorbell rang. Nixayara looked through the peephole. It was Azaya. He was wearing a white shirt, holding 2 boxes of hot pastries and a bag of coffee. His face was calm as always, but his eyes revealed seriousness. "You've seen the news, right?" Azaya asked as soon as he entered. "Yes." Nixayara nodded, her voice cold. "She filmed us last night. Looks like she hired someone to follow me since I left the coffee shop." "It's not just that. I just verified the IP of the handle, Atlanta Truth. It came from a cheap motel in the West End. And guess what? The mobile number used to activate the handle matches the burner phone Soraya used to contact clients." Azaya set breakfast on the table and opened his laptop. The screen showed a matrix of data and graphs. "Eat something. It's hot. I'll handle this garbage online." Nixayara looked at the man busy typing for her. She shook her head. "No, Azaya. You've helped me too much. This time I can't let you be the target. They're using your reputation to take me down. I have to resolve this myself." She sat in front of him, her eyes ignited. "Can you set up a temporary recording studio here? I want to do a live stream, not to defend myself, but to declare war." Azaya looked at her, the corners of his lips curving in a smile of approval. He liked that strength in her. It wasn't a forced strength, but the courage of someone who had been cornered and had decided to take up arms. "Sure, I'll set up the best live stream system, the stablest connection, and I'll be the moderator to filter the junk comments for you. But what do you plan to say?" Nixayara took a sip of black, bitter coffee. Her eyes were deep, like a calm lake. "I'll show them the naked, raw truth. Not half the truth, but everything, including the forged loan contract." 8 o'clock at night, prime time on social media. On Nixayara Thorne's official profile, which had been silent for the last 2 days, the live stream mode unexpectedly activated. The title, "For Soraya, Theron, and Those Hiding in the Shadows, I Am Ready to Talk." In just 5 minutes, the number of viewers rose to 10,000, then 20,000. Everyone in Atlanta was glued to their phones. Nick Sayara appeared on camera. She wasn't wearing sick pajamas, nor were her eyes swollen from crying. She wore a simple but elegant black dress. Her hair was pulled back in a bun, her face sophisticatedly made up, exuding mature beauty and power. Behind her, the setting of the modern apartment was enough to show she was doing well, very well. "Hello to everyone. I am Nick Sayara Thorne." Her voice was deep, clear, without a tremble. "In the last 2 days, I have been silent. I was silent because I thought that after the truth was revealed in the company lobby, those who were wrong would repent or at least have enough shame to stop. But I was wrong. Kindness to the wicked is cruelty to oneself." She picked up a thick folder. "Today there have been rumors that I am cheating on my husband, that I set him up to obtain assets. So let's talk about assets." Nick Sayara held up the $200,000 loan contract with the forged signature in front of the camera. Isaiah, controlling the camera, zoomed in on the document. "This is a loan contract with predatory interest made 3 months ago. The borrower is my husband, Theron Thorne, and the guarantor, ironically, is me, with a signature I never signed." The online community exploded. Comments flew so fast it was impossible to read. "My God, borrowing $200,000 and forging the wife's signature? That's prison time. Turns out the husband went into debt and now he's attacking the wife to keep the assets." Nick Sayara continued, her voice firmer. "Where did these $200,000 go? They weren't used to build a house or to invest. They were used to gamble on online betting sites and buy expensive gifts for the little mistress, the person who today plays the victim on social media." She showed a bank statement Isaiah had managed to access from cloud data Theron had neglected to protect. January 14th. Transfer of $5,000. Description: buy LV bag for my kitten. My kitten is Soraya's nickname. January 20th. Transfer of $20,000. Description: load VIP account on ex-gambling site. And the height of it all, yesterday when I had just left my husband's house with empty hands, I was surrounded on the road by a group of thugs who tried to break the glass and threatened my life to collect this debt I never asked for. Nick Sayara played the video extracted from Isaiah's dashcam, the scene of Cash threatening with the baseball bat. Nick Sayara in panic inside the car. It was sharp and horrifying. "They say I'm having an affair with Isaiah. Yes, he was there, but not for a date. He and Dr. James saved my life from the hands of the debt collectors hired by my own husband and his mistress." She looked directly at the camera, her eyes piercing the screen. "Theron, Soraya, I know you're watching. Do you think you can kill me using anonymous handles and public opinion? You're wrong. I am not a weak candle in the wind. I am fire. The more you blow, the more I'll burn. And this is my last warning. I have sent all the evidence of signature forgery, slander, and death threats to the investigative authorities. The subpoenas will be sent this afternoon. Enjoy your last hours of freedom." Nick Sayara ended the live stream with a decisive act. She tore up her wedding photo with Theron right in front of the camera. "The marriage is over. Now we'll see each other in court." The screen went black. Nick Sayara slumped on the sofa, sighing deeply. Isaiah approached, handing her a glass of warm water. "You did an excellent job. Magnificent." "How do you think they'll react?" Nick Sayara asked. Her eyes were lost in the void. "They'll devour each other. It's the law of the desperate." In a decaying boarding house, the room smelled of mold and cheap tobacco. Theron and Soraya were sitting on a bed with wrinkled sheets, eyes fixed on the phone screen that had just gone black. Silence hung in the room, heavier than lead. Theron was the first to break the silence. He threw the phone against the wall. "Dead. I'm dead. She has proof of the forgery. She's called the police." Theron grabbed his head, pulling his hair like a madman. He knew how heavy the penalty was for fraud, document forgery, and embezzlement. Besides, the $200,000 debt to the street lenders that Nick Sayara had now publicly rejected would have to be paid by him. Cash wouldn't forgive him. Soraya was curled in a corner of the bed, pale as a corpse. Her defamation plan had backfired completely. Instead of drowning Nick Sayara, she had inadvertently created a stage for Nick Sayara to expose all their crimes. Public opinion had shifted 180 degrees. The comments insulting Nick Sayara had been deleted, replaced by cruel curses directed at the mistress and the cowardly husband. "It's your fault! Everything is your fault!" Theron attacked, grabbing Soraya's neck, shaking her violently. "You were the one who prompted me to sign that paper. You said to borrow money and invest in land, that it would double the profits quickly. And now there's no land, and you've spent it all on clothes and bags. And you still prompt me to give the lead to the loan sharks so they'd surround her car? You ruined me!" "Let go of me!" Soraya screamed, scratching Theron's arms. "You're a weak, cowardly man. You enjoyed spending the money. Now that there's trouble, you blame me? You borrowed money to gamble to keep me? What are you complaining about? You also wanted your wife dead to keep the life insurance." "Shut up!" Slap. This time Theron's slap was so hard that Soraya fell, hitting her head against the headboard. Blood ran down her forehead, but Soraya didn't cry. She looked at Theron with the eyes of a wounded, cornered animal. She grabbed a fruit knife that was on the table and pointed it at Theron. "If you dare hit me again, I'll stick you. If we have to die, you die with me." The scene in the room became chaotic. The two who had exchanged caresses and filmed intimate videos now pointed knives and fists at each other like mortal enemies. Bam, bam, bam. The sound of knocks on the door rang like thunder, making both of them shiver and pull apart. "Open the door! Police!" "It's not the police." Theron immediately recognized that voice. It was the voice of Cash's thugs. He was posing as the police so they'd open the door, but the threatening tone didn't fool him. Cash had seen the live stream. He knew Nick Sayara didn't have the money, and more importantly, he knew where Theron and Soraya were, thanks to Soraya stupidly using her old mobile number for the anonymous handle. "Theron! Soraya! Open the door so we can have a friendly little chat. I heard you want to escape the debt, huh?" The thin wooden door shuddered under the kicks. Theron was pale. His hands and feet trembled. He looked out the window. 3rd floor. If he jumped, he'd break his legs. If he stayed, he'd be crushed. "What to do, Soraya?" Trembling, she threw the knife to the floor and crawled toward the balcony to try to pass to the next apartment. "Theron," she whispered, and ran toward the balcony, trying to climb over the railing toward the neighboring balcony, but the rain made it slippery. Her hand slipped. "Help me! Wait for me!" Soraya crawled and fled. Crash! The room door was kicked in. Cash and 3 of his thugs entered. Seeing the 2 debtors trying to climb over the balcony, Cash smiled ironically, grabbed a chair, sat down, and lit a cigarette. "Let them climb. If they fall, it saves me the work of hitting them. We just call the coroner to pick them up." Theron looked at the dark, deep alley below, and then at the thugs sitting in the room like animals waiting for their prey. He was desperate. He knew his life had come to an end there, no way back, no honor, and now no physical safety. The next morning, Atlanta woke up to a new news story. A confrontation in a boarding house resulted in police intervention. 2 individuals, a man and a woman, were taken to the hospital in critical condition after falling from a 3rd floor onto a neighboring roof while trying to flee from a group of debt collectors. In Grady Hospital, Theron was in casts on his legs and arms, his face swollen. Soraya was in the bed next to him with a broken leg and bruises. Her face, once pretty, was bandaged. But the physical pain was nothing compared to the document the lead detective had just placed on the nightstand, a warrant for arrest to be executed immediately in the hospital against Theron Thorne for fraud, document forgery, and embezzlement. Soraya Sterling was also charged with active complicity, in addition to being investigated for slander and defamation. Nick Sayara was in the hospital hallway, looking through the window into the room. She wore a beige coat, her figure elegant and soft. "Do you want to go talk to them?" Dr. James asked. Nixayara looked at the two lying in bed, groaning. The hate in her had disappeared, replaced by a strange calm. She didn't feel euphoria, only sadness for those lives ruined by greed, rage, and ignorance. "No need," Nixayara shook her head, smiling slightly. "I already said everything I had to say in the live stream. Now they're just defendants in a process where I am the plaintiff. I don't make a habit of talking to criminals." She turned and left. The sound of her heels on the hospital tiles was steady and firm. Her phone rang. A message from Isaiah. "You finished, baby? I'm waiting at the door. Weather is nice today. Let's go get some brunch." "Yes." Nixayara looked out the window. The rain had completely stopped. The Atlanta sky after the storm was clear and vast. Warm sun rays danced on the trees. "Coming out right now," Nixayara replied and hurried toward the exit. She had won, a total and crushing victory. She recovered her honor, protected her assets, and most importantly, she found herself, a stronger, wiser version, more worthy of being valued. But there was still one last thing she had to do to completely close this past. A meeting she had postponed but couldn't avoid. The meeting with her in-laws. Those people who were now lost in the middle of the chaos caused by their own son. She had to go there not to laugh, but to return the last traces of her identity as a daughter-in-law. 3 months later, the spring in Atlanta had given way to the strong sun rays of early summer that shone over the city, making the buildings glitter. The leaves on the trees were now a lush green, full of life, just like Nixayara's mood. Today was the day the court issued the sentence. Nixayara walked out of the courthouse doors, breathing deeply the air of freedom. She wore a beige linen dress, elegant and light, very different from her bold, sophisticated look on that fateful February 14th. The result of the trial was exactly what Dr. James had predicted, but it still caused a shock in the city. Theron Thorne, sentenced to 7 years in prison for fraud, embezzlement, and document forgery. Additionally, he was held totally responsible for the $200,000 debt to the street lenders. Although the mortgage contract was invalid, the personal debt still had to be paid, and now that he was in jail, that burden hung over his parents. Soraya Sterling was sentenced to a 2-year suspended sentence for defamation and complicity. Although she didn't have to go to jail with this criminal record and the stigma of being the other woman who ruined a marriage, her career and future in Atlanta were completely ruined. "It's over, Nixayara," Dr. James said, approaching and shaking her hand, smiling. "The court has also finalized the divorce. From this moment, you are legally a single and free woman. Your private assets are protected, and you don't have to carry a cent of your ex-husband's debt." "Thank you, Dr. James. Without you, I would have lost everything," Nixayara replied. With eyes full of sincere gratitude, she looked at the police van waiting for the convicts. Through the bars of the van window, she glimpsed Theron's vacant and dejected gaze. He looked at her without hate, only with late regret and desperation. But Nixayara felt no euphoria or more pain. Her heart was calm. That man was now just a stranger she had known, an expensive lesson from her youth. "Where are you going now? To the office to celebrate?" Isaiah asked. He was waiting for her under a leafy tree with the same calm and reliable posture. Nixayara shook her head gently. "I have one last thing to do. A goodbye." "Want me to take you?" "No need, Isaiah. I want to do this alone. Go to the office. I've got the meeting for the new project this afternoon." Isaiah looked at her, understood, and nodded. "All right, I'll wait for you. Be careful." Nixayara left in her car. Her destination was the house in Buckhead, the house of her former in-laws. The 3-story house, once spacious, now seemed desolate and somber. The yard plants were dry because no one watered them. The iron gate was half open. Nixayara pushed the gate and entered. The living room was dark. Mr. Malachi was coughing loudly on the long wooden sofa. Mother Odessa was sitting next to him, massaging his feet. Her hair had turned gray in just a few months. Seeing Nixayara enter, Mother Odessa shivered, dropping a bottle of rubbing alcohol. Nixayara, Mother Odessa stammered in a raspy voice. Nixayara placed a small box on the table. "Hello, Father. Hello, Mother. The court issued the sentence today. I've come to return the house key and some of Theron's personal documents I still had." Mother Odessa looked at the ring of keys and then at her former daughter-in-law. Suddenly she began to cry convulsively, falling to her knees at Nixayara's feet. "Nixayara, I beg you, my daughter, save Theron. He'll die if he stays in jail for 7 years. I know I was wrong. I was cruel to you, but daughter, marriage is for better or worse. File an appeal. Ask for a reduced sentence, please. I beg you." Mr. Malachi also tried to stand up with a trembling voice. "Nixayara, I know our family failed you, but we are old. He's our only son. Have mercy on us." Nixayara stood motionless, neither backing up nor helping Mother Odessa up immediately. She let them cry, letting them release all that late regret. Then she leaned down gently but firmly and pulled Mother Odessa's hand off her dress. "Mother, get up. If Mother kneels like this, it'll bring me bad luck." She helped her sit in the chair and looked directly at the two elderly people, her voice calm but firm. "Father, Mother, I am not a judge. I didn't sentence Theron. The law sentenced him. He committed fraud, signature forgery, embezzlement. Those are crimes. They aren't marital matters for me to just withdraw a complaint and it's all over." "But the $200,000 debt," Mother Odessa sobbed. "The collectors come here every day. They throw trash. We'll have to sell this house to pay his debt. You're rich. You've been successful. You can help him pay the debt. Consider that we're borrowing money from you." Nixayara sighed. Even at this moment, they thought she had an obligation to carry the consequences caused by their son. Human selfishness was sometimes more terrifying than cruelty. "Mother!" Nixayara called out. The word mother, said for the last time in a complete and painful way. "I am not rich. My money is sweat and tears, late nights working until exhaustion. I used that money to take care of this house, but what did I get in return? A betrayal video on Valentine's Day and a debt that fell from the sky." She stood up, her long shadow on the cold floor. "Theron has to be responsible for his own life. Parents do too. I left this house with empty hands. I didn't take a pin. This is the last kindness I give you. Please, don't ask me to sacrifice any more." With that, she turned and walked toward the door. "Nixayara, are you really leaving? You don't look back even once?" Mr. Malachi's voice echoed like a sound from a distant world. Nixayara stopped at the door without turning, just speaking out loud. "I don't look back because my future is in front of me." She walked out through the iron gate. The sun hit her face, dazzling but warm. She had completely cut the invisible chains that had bound her for the last 5 years. There was no more resentment, no more debts, only serenity. At the Vertex Media headquarters, Nixayara walked into the large boardroom where the second quarter strategy meeting was being held. Her entry caused a brief silence, followed by unanimous applause. There were no longer looks of scrutiny or contempt. Now, in the eyes of the employees, Nixayara was a leader, a symbol of courage and resilience. After the scandal, Nixayara wasn't fired. She was promoted to Chief Content Officer. The social media cleanup project she started after her own incident was a resounding success, bringing countless major contracts to the company. "Hello, Director Thorne." The young intern from before, now a permanent employee, greeted her with a smile. Nixayara smiled, nodded to everyone, and sat in the main chair. "Thank you, everyone. Let's begin. Today, I want to talk about our new campaign, Women and Autonomy. I want to use my own story and those of thousands of other women to inspire a positive life." Nixayara spoke with passion. She radiated a beauty that didn't come from makeup or silk, but from a woman who knew her value. Sitting in a corner of the room, Isaiah watched her in silence. He didn't participate in the discussion. He was just there as firm support. He saw the flame in her eyes, The flame that had been stifled by an unhappy marriage now burned more brightly than ever. At the end of the meeting, people dispersed, and Isaiah stayed. "Are you free tonight?" he asked. "If it's an invitation from Director Isaiah, no matter how busy I am, I have to be free," Nixayara joked. "I'm not inviting you as a director. I'm inviting you as Isaiah. Let's go to the lookout at Stone Mountain. I want to show you something." Stone Mountain Lookout, 6 in the evening. The sunset covered Atlanta, tinting the sky purple. From the top of the hill, the city skyline sparkled like diamonds. Peace. Nixayara was sitting on the grass. The strong wind blew through her locks. Isaiah was beside her, setting up a small picnic. The smell of fresh food and the cool air floated around them. "Eat, it's still warm." He handed her a piece of food. Nixayara took it. The warmth transferred to her hand, seeping into her heart. "This is so good. It's been a long time since I felt so at peace. It's like I've been reborn into another life." "You deserve it." Isaiah looked at her. His eyes reflected the warm, deep light of the setting sun. "Nixayara, I've waited for this day for a long time. I've waited for the day you could let go of your burden. I've waited for the day you could smile without sadness in your eyes." Nixayara looked down, playing with the food in her hand. She knew what was coming. Her heart, which had been frozen by pain, began to beat with a new emotion. "Isaiah, I am a divorced woman. I have a turbulent past. I have scars on my heart. You are single. Your career is rising. Your family is respected. Does it matter to you?" Isaiah took her hand. His hand was large, rough but firm, wrapping around hers. "I don't love your past. I love the person you are now. I love the way you got up after falling. I love the way you protected yourself. And I even love the pain you endured. Scars don't make you ugly. They prove you fought and survived." He pulled a small box from his pocket. It wasn't an expensive diamond ring, but a silver bracelet with a small flame design. "I don't promise to give you a life of wealth and luxury like Theron promised, but I promise that when you are tired, you'll have my shoulder to lean on. When you fight, I'll be your backup. When it rains, I'll be your umbrella. We can go slow, but we can go together." Nixayara looked at the bracelet and then into Isaiah's eyes. She didn't cry, but her eyes became moist. She thought she'd never trust a man again. But this man, who had used actions instead of words during all those stormy months, had knocked down the wall of defense inside her. She realized that happiness wasn't finding the perfect person, but finding someone who valued her imperfections. "I don't need you to be my umbrella." Nixayara smiled, a smile as radiant as the dawn. "I want to hold my own umbrella, but I accept you walking beside me under the same sky." Isaiah laughed. His smile of happiness spread across his face. He put the bracelet on her wrist and drew her gently into his arms. Under the starry Atlanta sky, between the scent of the evening and the whisper of the wind, the two who were once alone found each other without drama, without show, just peace and mutual understanding. 1 year later, Nixayara was on the stage of the Inspirational Women of the Year awards ceremony. She wore a bright red evening gown, the color of the phoenix. Down in the audience, Isaiah, holding her sister's chubby baby, looked at her with pride. Nixayara held the microphone, looking at the thousands of spectators, including young women, wives, and mothers struggling with their marriages. "Before being here, I was a failed wife. I was betrayed on Valentine's Day. I was humiliated. I was cornered. I thought my life was over. But my friends, the bottom of the pit is not a place to die. It is a place to take momentum and jump. We women are not born to be the shadow of a man, nor are we born to endure pain in the name of sacrifice. A husband may betray, public opinion may slander, but as long as we don't betray ourselves, we will always find a way to life. Don't be afraid to break what is rotten, because only when you dare to let go of what hurts you do you have your hands free to receive the good that awaits you. Happiness is not a destination. It is an attitude toward life. Live like a radiant flower for yourself and not to decorate someone else's life." Applause resonated through the entire auditorium. Tears of empathy ran, and smiles of hope bloomed. Nixayara looked at Isaiah. He gave a thumbs up, eyes shining with love. She smiled. Outside, the sun rose over the Atlanta skyline, brighter and more glorious than ever. Her life was now truly beginning. Did you like the story, and which city are you listening from? Thank you so much for your sweet support. I'm looking forward to your comments on the story. On the screen, you can see 2 new life stories that I highly recommend. There's so much more on my channel. Don't forget to subscribe. See you in the next life story with love and respect.